And the Creator put a lot of people through different tests. And you might go through an experience and you don't know why it's happening to you. Aboriginal people are hunters and gatherers. They don't just hunt and gather physical objects, gather of experience. You've got that experience, you've got it for a reason, and it's not just for your own selfish reason. That reason is to share it with the other people and to share it with young people. Because only an experienced old person who's been through the ropes can help young people, because it's like a jungle out there.
Born into this world of change, I don't even know my parents' name. Everybody points and talks at me. It seemed the Lord would have to crucify me. Oh, crucify me. Hang me upside.
I guess I suppose in a sense I was treated all right by the white people in my growing up days in Woorabinda. It's how my parents were treated and my grandparents, for us to be taken away from our mum and dad and put in a dormitory, boys and girls dormitories. They classed my mother as unfit now. She had a nervous breakdown and they just took us away from her. She didn't look after us, that's what they were saying. But I remember my mother so clearly to this day that she was one of the cleanest, hard-working Aboriginal woman on Woorabinda. I had 3 brothers. I was about 7 or 8 when we was all put in the dormitory. And I had two big sisters and another sister after me, younger sister. The elder sister of mine, she was sent out to work like how I was sent out to work, and every other young girls were sent out to sheep stations and cattle stations. And I remember I was 9, sitting on the steps crying for my big sister going away. And sitting down by myself, I had no one there to comfort me. I remember to this day sitting there on the step and watching the truck take her away. She would have been only about 16, 17. In 1959, the strike was on Palm Island and the family... There were different groups of people, like people came from other places like Cherbourg, or people couldn't get on with different ones from different communities. But they seem to have gotten on with people from Palm Island. Oh, I'd say the Thaiday family was really accepted well in the community by the people. When I first met Billy was, how old he was? Billy, 13, 15? No, you was 15. I was about 12, I think, 11 or 12. When he first came to Woorabinda, when he came in with his family. And he was a little skinny fella, very thin little fella. Bushy hair and big eyes. We just didn't like one another when we were kids, when we was going to school. And I don't know what Bill's parents thought, but I think they liked me from now, like when we used to sit down and talk with them in Cully, sit around and yarn, family talk, and his sisters would talk how they used to tease Bill when they see on a Sunday we'd be going to church and escorted to church on a Sunday, and we'd walk past Bill's house, family house, and his sisters would see me and they'd, Rosie Mama, going past them, and Bill would sing out, Mum, they teasing me! And all this sort of thing, But that's how it went. Look back, it was a nice old building, the dormitory. But that's the only thing that spoiled it was the wire mesh that kept us in, and the padlock on the back door and front door, chain and padlock. Oh, there was a lot of sneaking out from the dormitories, especially all the big girls, I mean, after all, everybody's human, and when you got a sweetheart and everybody know how feelings are, within human nature, but that's how it was. I remember one matron during my growing up days in the dormitory, and she was pretty strict with us, you know, and all us young girls are starting to come into the teenage now, coming on 15. Everybody bailing up from in. We all planned to sneak out of the dormitory, you know. I wasn't game to make the move, but some of the other girls, they got through the window and sneaked out of the dormitory, you know. And she ended up catching up on all the girls. Bill's father was a very entertaining sort of a person. He was gifted with creating entertainment for people in the community. And he used to have a group of young girls, I was one of them, teaching us island dancing. I mean, it wasn't our culture, but he shared it with us, and that was entertainment for the mission, you know. I mean, they used to call them big heads them days, the people down in the departments of Brisbane, you know. If they coming to visit Woorabinda, oh, big heads coming today, get the dormitory, everybody get the place cleaned up. And then a concert would be put on for them, and Bill's father would have this dancing team, you know, and put on beautiful concerts and good entertainment. And on weekends, on a Saturday, we'd go down for dancing practice. Well, it was just this one night and Bill was doing the curtains for his father, and it was this night that we sneaked a kiss. We sneaked a goodnight kiss, just one little kiss. I was put in jail. I was put in jail for that. So they called me Rosalind. Rosalind, Mama, you kissed Bill Thaiday last night. You're going to jail tonight. And I could remember so clearly. It was dark, and they'd taken me over to put me in jail, you know, and just imagine being locked up in a little cell with no lights and things like that. But the time I was locked up for that one night, and they come out, open the door for me to have breakfast next morning. Come out, and here's big, there's a lot of men sitting down, all in jail, but they were all out for breakfast, and me being only 15. So I found a little corner by myself and sat down, and was frightened because all these men, and it was shame, you know, feeling shame. And but being Aboriginal men, I suppose, they thought seeing this little young girl, so they talked to me and tried to make me feel good, you know, happy. Yeah, Rosie, what you doing in here for? You in here for kissing Bill, eh? And all this thing. And while we were sitting having breakfast, Bill's father came on me. He was on a police escort. They used to escort, say, if somebody done something wrong in Woorabinda, and they were sent for punishment, like maybe say to Palm Island or to Bamago or somewhere where they sent them away. He come and he seen me and said, "Yeah, girl, what you doing here?" And I was ashamed to say why I was in jail, because that's Bill's dad, you know. I was ashamed to say, "Oh, I kissed your son good night and I'm in jail." But I never had the courage then to say it's being 15, you know, frightening experience.
Why was Bill put in jail?
I don't know, he was down in the camp, seeing being in the dormitory, being a dormitory girl. It was wrong, and you did get punished. You know, I mean, I would have been happy if they'd have stopped me from going to the dance or the pictures, but to be belittled like that and put in jail just for one night kiss. You couldn't even wave to your boyfriend. As young girls, we used to do our washing on weekends or during the week. We'd hang out our clothing and we'd shake. That was a wave. Oh, we went through a bad stage one part of it in our life, in our marriage. He took off Bill was more like a gypsy, you know, wanted to travel here and there. We traveled a lot of places, and he always had a job in the railway or the main roads or anything you name. Bill always found work. But we never stayed in one town too long. He'd get the itchy feet and say, I'm putting my time and we'll move down to Rockhampton, or we'll move up to Tully, or we'll move out to the west right at Emerald, you know. So there's many nights, many trains and buses we rode with Bill, me and the kids. And there was many a stony ground that we laid on too, getting off late trains, you know, 12 o'clock at night, nowhere to go until daylight, and then he'd go and look around to see if there was any relations or anything, somewhere we could stay until he got a job. Well, it was very hard, his drinking days. It was very hard on me and the kids. And I often wonder how long I stood by him with his alcoholic problems, you know. He was a heavy drinker those days. He worked hard and he drank hard. He'd come home from work and I'd have all his Friday night clothes already ironed for him to go out to the pub with his friends, and off he'd go. One thing I could say about Billy, he always bought him the pay packet, and I only gave him about, say, £10 for his drink for the weekend that lasted him, because he had a lot of friends and he wasn't short of a drink price, you know. And then I'd see him on a Sunday, Monday, through the weekdays, everything, all that sort of thing disappeared, and sort of accepted it and his problem. But that's the sort of thing that I went through. The kids lived in fear of him too. Not that he didn't bash the kids, but I always copped a good hiding. I wouldn't have been able to go on without the support of his parents. You know, I've never come across in-laws like that. The whole family gave me support, was always there and was always ready to jump between us. I've preferred to stay and put up with the bashing, because if you run away, it'll be even worse when he caught you, you know, it'll sort of double that. That's how I used to feel. I lived in fear of Bill. There were many times he pulled out his father's ornament, the spear, off the wall and held that to me. Plus a .303, plus a spear gun. Yeah, the fear made me stay till I just got the courage one day and up and left. I did leave, yeah. But I mean, after many years. Well, I went back home to Woorabinda, took my kids and got a job, settled in there with my family support, you know, my sisters and brothers. They sort of just was happy that I was there. And I felt secure there, being in my little community. Oh, so he just kept on with his life, and I was going all right with mine, got a job and looking after myself, had my independence. Bill was then in the parks, you know, drinking and boozing. I think that's where his problem started with, you know, like where it started taking effect on him. So I used to come to spend a weekend or so and visit his parents in Townsville. And Bill would be down in the park at the drones, down in Anzac Park in Townsville. Yeah, so anyway, I used to go down the park and I used to make up some sandwiches and take a feed down. I think he appreciated knowing that I was there. Then I'd know when to move home, take the kids home, because he'd start getting jealous or start looking for an argument, or I couldn't move around, then, you know, I had to sit one place. Yeah, he'd lost a lot of weight. And he just came out of hospital that day. Bill used to frighten me many times when he used to go into the DTs. I was frightened because he saw things that I never saw, you know. Little man, anything. But I don't know. He went through it 14 times, been in the hospital so many times.
And no rehabilitation afterwards?
No rehabilitation. He had no rehabilitation. I mean, the rehabilitation service was there, but being a strong man, he always said that if he's going to do it, he's going to do it for himself, not for me, not for his parents. This is when he started picking himself up and what made him change? I don't know, maybe he was just ready. I think just his experience through his DTs. When I came back to live with him, I tried to pick up our life again. This is what he started doing, gardening in his parents' house. The kids really look up to their father, you know. I mean, they look up to me. I'm their mum, and they know I'll always be there. But their dad is something special to them, right to this eldest girl of mine. And there's many times I just sit and cry, and there was never a time in my talks with her that she'd say, "Oh, Dad makes you sick," or and say, "Oh, why don't you leave Dad?" Never ever say a bad word against him, you know. Before he became anything involved with radio, when he gave up drinking, we were just waiting for a job, and we both got this house parent job. Bill and I was looking after the girls still. To this day, he doesn't drink anymore. In my work, I was employed by the Catholic Church in Townsville, the Aboriginal and Islander Catholic Council, and I was employed there as a church worker. And it was on a wage, you know. And my job entailed like visiting Aboriginal and Islander people in hospitals, going to people with domestic problems, you know. We encouraged Aboriginal women or Island women to feel free to call on us anytime, and if they had a problem or if they were stuck in anywhere, like so they had no food or anything, you know. If they wanted help from St. Vincent de Paul's or anything like that, they'd get in contact with me, give me a phone call, and I'd go and take it from there and see what I could do for families, yeah, especially mothers, yeah. I was Bill's voice. Many years I was always Bill's voice. If they wanted something to say, I spoke.
It's now 10 o'clock on
I was
radio
very forward.
broadcasting from the most peaceful
And Bill was a quite-spoken man. In spite of him being a hard-working drinking man, he was loud during his drinking, but when he was like he is now, Bill hardly spoke to people. And then for him to choose to become a broadcaster, it's really brought him out. He's not afraid to speak. He admits that himself. I came up here, so the week after burying her. She was only 34, so I've got two of her children, two girls in my care. And that was a big loss, that I felt was a big loss. Yeah, I think he's doing an excellent job. I was starting to feel left out because it was just taking him away from me, you know. But then as I come to understand what it's all about, he's got my full support all the way.
My name is Rose Thaiday. I work for the Education Department now here at Bachelor College, training young Aboriginal people or any Aboriginal people from around the countryside in broadcasting, radio broadcasting. While we're doing this thing through video, radio, we're educating now. It's our turn to educate. And we're doing it in a way we know best, through our own people.
When we came to Bachelor, we just felt a little out. I felt a little out. I don't know whether it's just me, or I don't know if I could say being outcast, I don't know. But I felt that people sort of held back, and now we've been here for a while, nearly 6 months, and I'd say the full-blood people here just sort of stood back and waited till they got to know you before they can talk to you, you know. And now I've made a lot of friends amongst the full-blood Aboriginal students here. Everyone sings out to me. And it's pretty good now. Yeah, makes our stay a lot easier. So, you know, Bill was telling you how he was doing a family tracing thing, and I said I want to do it too, you know. If I started off with these 2 old people here, I then had to sort of go up a bit more with my great-grandparents. She was a very strong woman, my old grandmother. She was a leader in her tribe. But the thing is, I could always remember, we'd always had bush tucker. You know, we'd always have a porcupine, you'd have a kudapita or a guana. They always had you beside them, and I could always remember sitting around the campfire, but I could never remember the stories they told us. Maybe I was a bit too small. The feeling I had before, I wasn't a complete person, and just going back through, you know, going back to my great-grandparents, going back to my grandmother and grandfather, I sort of felt that I could identify with people, you know. Especially when you've lost your language, you've lost the name of a tribe and things like that. And then the era was all of a sudden finding all this information, finding out what tribe my mother came from, finding out the tribe my father came from. But that's made me whole as a person, has given me back some pride that I never had.
Uncle Bill commands a lot of respect amongst Aboriginal people and Torres Strait Islander people all over the countryside, because him and Auntie Rose, they embody the quality of goodness that does exist in Aboriginal Australia, and they have helped a lot of people, young people, to get back on the right track, to get onto a creative track, and to do something positive with their life.
Yeah, it just sort of come naturally to the younger ones, Auntie Rose and Uncle Bill, and was just a natural feeling for them too, and being a long way from home themselves. And I think the important part is giving the support to the younger people, that they feel at home, they relax around us, and yeah, maybe they feel that with the parents while they're here, that they miss when they're a long way from home. Oh, I'd very much like to do a course here. And one of the courses I was interested in was adult education, because just looking at the material that they had up in one of the classrooms, and it all just ties in with the sort of job that I was doing in Townsville, you know, being involved with the AICC in Townsville. I think it's important to me. But because of money business and we trying to save up for a vehicle, it was hard idea for transport, you know. So Bill said I'll work Johnny this year, and I asked him. But I'd like to do a course next year. So we just hope everything goes well for us. Yeah, I have to say he respects me in that sense. I like to walk with my head high, you know, and I like to feel confident in myself and in the things that I do. And like I was saying, during my younger days, it never bothered me of things that they'd done to my parents, but as an adult it sort of made me, I felt the bitterness, but it made me a stronger person too, you know. When I look back, you gotta make life go on, I suppose. It's no good putting my problem onto my children, and they're gonna grow up with that same thing and look over the road and say, oh, who's that so-and-so over there, you know? I mean, you gotta give them something better, and then that's in everything. I'd like my kids to always have respect for other people, to be able to stand up and speak up for themselves, not to be talked down to. I'd like them to grow up with that respect for older people. and respect the land. Yeah, very important for them to respect the land. And to be thankful for things that they've got, you know. And to be thankful to their parents most of all. Given the opportunity, I wish I could show my respect to my parents. It's something that I never had. He's a good man, a strong man. I had to be strong too, I suppose, to keep the man I married.
Born out into this world of change, I don't even know.
It's now 10 o'clock on Radio Rum Jungle, broadcasting from the most peaceful part of the Northern Territory. You're listening to Walkabout the Top End. I'm Bill Thaiday.
To crucify me, oh, crucify me, hang me upside